Hello and welcome to this learning module. Today we will list the characteristics of EMS response vehicles and will address safe vehicle operations in emergent and non-emergent response and during transport. This video is intended to supplement any readings or coursework assigned by your instructor. Upon successful completion of this learning module, students will be better able to, number 1, list common characteristics of EMS response vehicles, number 2, explain the phases of an EMS call, and number 3, describe safe operation of an EMS vehicle. The KKK-A 1822 Federal Specifications for Ambulances, also known as the Triple K specification, sets minimum safety and design standards for ambulances purchased with federal funds. Many states have adopted this specification as a baseline for vehicle procurement, and South Carolina is one of them. Other organizations like the National Fire Protection Association and the Commission on Accreditation of Ambulance Services have also developed additional standards and recommendations for ambulance design and operation. Here we see the three different types of ambulances. A Type 1 ambulance is constructed on a Super Duty pickup truck or small truck chassis. Most of these vehicles are diesel powered, but you can still find a handful that run on gasoline. Always make sure to put the correct fuel in your ambulance or you will damage your engine. Type 1 ambulances tend to have a rougher ride because they are built on a truck chassis. Your agency may purchase a Type 1 vehicle with a special air ride suspension system that makes for a smoother ride. These rigs may have very large patient compartments with a lot of internal and external storage capacity. A Type 2 ambulance is a van, and it's usually a much smaller ambulance. These ambulances tend to have the smoothest ride, but do not provide a lot of space in the patient compartment, nor do they have a lot of storage space. Type 2 ambulances do not usually have outside storage capabilities. Type 2 ambulances are most often used by non-emergency transport companies and basic life support agencies. A Type 3 ambulance is built on a van chassis, but like a Type 1 ambulance, a Type 3 also has a module mounted on the back. Because these are a van chassis, your agency may purchase a Type 3 ambulance that is gas-powered or diesel-powered. These ambulances tend to have a smoother ride than a Type 1 ambulance. These rigs provide more space in the patient compartment and have both inside and outside storage access. Individual states are responsible for establishing standards for ambulance licensing. The Star of Life is a symbol used to identify emergency medical services. It features a blue six-pointed star. The middle of the star contains an image of the rod of Asclepius, the ancient Greek symbol for healing in medicine. It is the predominant symbol for medicine and healthcare. The Star of Life can be found on ambulances, medical personnel uniforms, and other objects associated with emergency medicine or first aid. The 6 branches of the star represent the 6 main tasks executed by rescuers throughout the emergency chain of care. Number 1, detection. The first rescuers on the scene, usually untrained civilians or those involved in the incident, observe the scene, understand the problem, identify the dangers to themselves and others, and take appropriate measures to ensure their safety. Number 2, reporting. The call for professional help is made and 911 dispatch is contacted to get appropriate services en route and to provide emergency medical dispatch. Number 3, response. The first rescuers provide first aid and immediate care to the extent of their capabilities. Number 4, on-scene care. EMS personnel arrive and provide immediate care to the extent of their capabilities. Number 5, care in transit. EMS personnel proceed to transfer the patient to a hospital via an ambulance or helicopter for specialized care. Medical care is provided throughout transport. And number 6, transfer to definitive care. EMS care is transferred at the receiving facility, and appropriate specialized care is provided by the receiving facility. There are 9 phases of an ambulance call. Phase 1. During the preparatory phase, the EMT inspects their ambulance using the vehicle checklist to ensure the vehicle is operating correctly, equipment is present and functioning, and all medications and supplies are in date. Phase 2. During the dispatch phase, the crew is alerted for a response and are provided basic information including the type of call, the location of the call, the number of patients, and any other pertinent information gleaned by the dispatcher. Phase 3. In Phase 3, the EMS crew responds safely and appropriately to the scene of the call. While en route to the call, the EMTs will review the dispatch information and discuss roles and responsibilities for when they arrive on scene. Phase 4. Once on scene, the ambulance will be parked in a safe manner, and the EMS personnel will size up the scene and initiate care to the victim or victims. Phase 5. The EMTs will select an appropriate device or devices to safely transfer the patient to the ambulance stretcher. The patient will be seatbelted to the ambulance stretcher and the stretcher properly secured in the ambulance for transport. Phase 6. During transport to the receiving facility, the patient will be reassessed and ongoing care provided by the EMS provider that rides in the patient compartment. A preliminary report is provided to the receiving facility so they can prepare for the patient's arrival. Phase 7 begins once the patient arrives at the receiving facility. Verbal and written reports are provided to healthcare professionals at the receiving facility, and care is transferred from EMS to the facility's provider. Phase 8, after patient care has been transferred, the EMTs will clean and disinfect their stretcher and any other equipment that was used on the call. Clean linen will be placed on the stretcher in preparation for the next call. Once back at station, any equipment that was used on the call will be restocked and oxygen levels checked to ensure that tanks do not need replacement. During the post-run phase, the EMTs will complete and file their electronic patient care report. Crew members may also choose to debrief their response on the last call. Emergency lights and sirens must be used together. If emergency lights are activated and the vehicle is in motion responding to a call or transporting an emergent patient, the sirens must be fully activated. Prior to responding to calls or transporting to the receiving facility, a risk-benefit analysis regarding the decision to respond with or without lights and sirens should be conducted. Factors including local protocols, patient condition, and anticipated clinical outcome must be considered prior to responding or transporting with lights and sirens activated. When responding to an emergency call with lights and sirens activated, an ambulance may proceed through a red light after stopping and ensuring it's safe to proceed. Drive against the flow of traffic only when traffic is stopped and it is safe to do so. Cautiously pass traffic on the left of the center line. Stop or park in a restricted or otherwise illegal location with emergency lights activated. Your agency will provide additional training regarding their emergency driving protocols once you are hired. While responding to an emergency call, EMS vehicles are required to follow all traffic regulations. The ability to utilize lights and sirens is a privilege and not a right. Even when responding with lights and sirens activated, we must obey all traffic control and warning devices such as yield signs, stop signs, and stoplights. Only after we have confirmed that it is safe to proceed can we continue our response or transport with lights and sirens. Emergency vehicle operators can be held criminally and or civilly liable if we cause a crash and somebody is injured or worse. Always remember that if something bad happens while we're operating an emergency vehicle, we as the operator are responsible and will need to defend our actions. Driving fast to a call or to the emergency department does not save lives. Good care is what makes the difference. When operating an emergency vehicle, we must always drive with due regard for everyone on the road. This means we operate the vehicle in a manner that is safe for our patient, our crew, and all others on the road. Much like the standard of care, driving with due regard refers to operating the vehicle in a manner that any EMS provider performing similar duties under similar circumstances would operate. When responding to an emergency call, it's recommended that you ask yourself the following questions. Am I responding like my coworkers would in the same or similar situation? Am I using my warning devices appropriately so motorists and pedestrians know that our apparatus is approaching? Am I providing enough notice of our approach to allow other motorists and pedestrians to clear a safe path? And am I driving cautiously and responsibly so that I can always maintain complete control of my vehicle? If the answer to any of these questions is no, then you need to reevaluate what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you're doing it. Defensive driving is a proactive driving approach that involves anticipating potential hazards and taking precautions to avoid accidents, even when other drivers are making mistakes. It emphasizes awareness, planning, and responsible decision making to minimize risks and ensure safe travel for everyone on the road. When operating an emergency vehicle, maintaining a safe distance from the vehicles in front of you is imperative. The National Safety Council recommends using the 3-second rule to ensure there is enough space between you and the vehicle in front of you. It involves choosing a stationary object on the roadside and counting 1001, 1002, 1003 after the vehicle in front passes it. If you pass the object before you finish counting, you are following too closely. When driving in adverse conditions such as snow, fog, or rain, emergency vehicle operators should consider increasing the driving distance to 6 seconds. It's important for emergency vehicle operators to understand that an ambulance will handle very differently than your personal vehicle. One of the key differences is the total stopping distance in an ambulance will be much further than the stopping distance of your passenger vehicle. The stopping distance is the total distance the vehicle travels from the point where the driver realizes they need to stop until the vehicle comes to a complete stop. The total stopping distance is obtained by adding the distance of the reaction time and the distance of the braking time. Reaction time is the distance the vehicle travels during the time it takes the driver to realize they need to brake and move their foot from the accelerator to the brake pedal. The braking time is the distance the vehicle travels from the moment the brake is applied until the vehicle comes to a complete stop. If you are driving your car on a local back road at 25 miles an hour on a sunny and clear day with dry roads and good tires and good brakes, and you realize you need to stop immediately, your reaction distance is estimated at 28 feet and your braking distance is about 46 feet for a total stopping distance of almost 75 feet. Conversely, if you were driving on the highway at 60 miles an hour and realize you need to stop, the reaction distance is estimated to be 66 feet and the braking distance is about 360 feet for a total stopping distance of approximately 425 feet. That distance is almost 1/10 of a mile. So driving an ambulance that weighs at least 5 times the weight of a normal passenger vehicle, it will probably take more than 1/10 of a mile to bring your rig to a complete stop on the highway. An ambulance requires twice the stopping distance on wet pavement and 5 times as much on snow or ice. See some additional ambulance operation considerations. The weight of the ambulance is unevenly distributed, which makes the ambulance top-heavy and more prone to rolling on its side. Ambulances have a wider turning radius than most passenger vehicles. Some ambulances are equipped with dual rear wheels, which can help with the ambulance stability, but tend to clip the curb if you don't take your turn wide enough. When turning in an ambulance, operators must make a wider turn than you would normally take in your personal vehicle to keep the ambulance from becoming increasingly top-heavy and to keep your rear wheels and the box of your ambulance from contacting the curb or other objects along the side of the road. Accelerate with caution when making a turn in your ambulance. Siren syndrome refers to the tendency of drivers to accelerate in the presence of emergency vehicle sirens. The sound of an approaching siren may cause increased anxiety in other drivers and may cause them to drive recklessly. In many states, including South Carolina, motor vehicle laws require drivers to safely pull to the right of the road and come to a complete stop when an emergency vehicle approaches them with lights and sirens activated. This is why emergency vehicles should only pass on the left as seen in the image here when responding in emergency mode with lights and sirens. Even when driving in emergency mode, an ambulance should never pass a school bus with its lights activated. Temporarily turn off your sirens so you don't scare or confuse the children and wait for the bus driver to safely load or unload, deactivate their lights, and safely pull to the side of the road. The National Sleep Foundation and the American Academy of Sleep Medicine recommend that adults sleep a minimum of 7 to 9 hours per night. Studies show us that half of EMS personnel get less than 6 hours of sleep per 24-hour shift, and many report severe mental and physical fatigue. Short amounts of sleep deprivation can lead to medical errors, vehicle crashes, and other harm to patients, bystanders, and EMS crew members. Long-term effects can lead to hypertension, sleep apnea, respiratory issues, diabetes, depression, and other medical conditions. Evidence-based guidelines for fatigue management have been developed under the United States Department of Transportation and through the National Association of State EMS Officials. Their recommendations include: number one, fatigue sleepiness instruments should measure and monitor fatigue among EMS personnel. The National Association of EMS Officials has a shift schedule fatigue risk analyzer available on the website listed here on the slide. Number two, EMS personnel should work shifts shorter than 24 hours duration. Number three, EMS personnel should have access to caffeine to stave off fatigue. And number four, EMS personnel should have the opportunity to nap while on duty to mitigate fatigue. If dispatched to a call and you and your partner are too fatigued to safely respond, immediately contact your supervisor for guidance. By now you realize that there are things we do on most EMS responses, including driving to the call, performing a patient assessment, and initiating patient care. You'll notice, however, that the amount of time spent addressing emergency vehicle operations is nowhere near the amount of time spent on patient assessment and patient care when taking any EMS course. So with this in mind, please know that there are courses available that you can take as part of your EMS provider continuing education. Classroom courses like the National Safety Council's defensive driving courses are designed to provide vehicle operators with information on how to drive in a responsible manner. Additionally, courses including Coaching the Emergency Vehicle Operator, or CEVO, and the Emergency Vehicle Operators course, or EVOC, combine classroom and behind-the-wheel training for emergency responders. This brings us to the end of this presentation. Here on this slide, we see the learning objectives for this module. Can you demonstrate each of these objectives? If not, please consider going back to review any content in this video that you struggled with. Thank you for taking the time to watch this learning module.